Oh, that's strange. I didn't realize I left it on.
Oh, yeah, you know what I did? I climbed on the ledge and tried to disconnect the cable, but I couldn't get in too, so everyone would think that both our TVs had something wrong with it. Okay, who brought the dog?
You are here because the outside world rejects you.
First vial is filling with antidote now.
Initiating the toxin release procedure.
MC Mikey.
So you're my Uncle Joey.
MC.
Better get used to these bars, kid.
Hello folks, and welcome back to another presentation from the Gnostic Reclamation and Polarization Nation Media. We're going to delve into the origins of what's commonly known as predictive programming, and I'm going to unpack for you what I call the Corey-Feldman Code, and this explains to us the DeLorean effect, commonly mistakenly called the Mandela effect. This doesn't have much to do with Nelson Mandela. It does have something to do with the Nielsen ratings, though, that keep this infinite game being played, so they don't take the net down. We're going to need some vocabulary words to go further. Hebephile, hebephilia, often conflated with pedophilia, and the Tanner scale. But before that, let's peek in on this divided full house.
How did the tablecloth get tucked in my pants?
I have never put anything down his pants. All right, once at the Sizzler.
Daddy, I wasn't finished.
Boy, your mom and my dad really like each other.
Yeah. See, you girls want some gum?
Sure, thanks. Thanks.
All those accidents at lunch were really weird today.
All of those weren't accidents. The salt, the milk, the tablecloth, the gum, all compliments of the Rust Man, master of disaster.
You mean you did all those mean, horrible... Did he say gum?
He said gum.
You girls better start flossing.
What is your problem, kid?
No problem. My philosophy is, if you fall for it, you deserve it.
Well, my philosophy is, I'm telling.
Steph, wait. Dad really likes Cindy, and she'll be back any minute. So let's just try to be nice to the little rat.
Okay. Want some cheese?
This is one of many examples where adult men play hapless fools, encoding homosexuality in their double entendres, while children are corrupted by Machiavellian adult souls embodied within children's bodies, and then seducing them symbolically. You'll note the oral sex embedded in Rusty's double entendre near misses. Here, put some gum in your mouth. Wait a minute, what did he just say? Hebephilia, the strong, persistent sexual interest by adults in pubescent children who are in early adolescence, typically 11 through 14, on the Tanner stages 2 and 3. Tanner stages 2 to 3. Say it out loud. Tanner scale 2 to 3. 2, 2, 3. Look in the mirror, test. 3, 2, 2. You've participated in worshiping pedophilia and hebephilia in symbol, maybe not consciously, but we are responsible for rectifying this. The Tanner scale, we can't go too deep into that here because, well, It's graphic, and we don't need to, fill YouTube up with that sort of thing. But basically, there's adults who are into corrupting the innocence. Let's say sexuality is like fruit on a vine, and there's some people that have a disturbing desire for fruit that isn't supposed to be picked yet. And throughout human history, adolescence has been a innocence period where children are protected and not to be fucked with.
Where are my pants?
Over there.
Calvin, why do you keep calling me Calvin?
That is your name, isn't it? Calvin Klein?
If I should die before you, Corey's mission. One of the great things about having a tragically dead friend is that you get to put words in their mouth when they're gone and spin their story and use it for your own personal agenda. Corey Feldman said he's not going to rest until he fulfills the promise he made to Corey Haim. Because everything about Corey Feldman tells me that he's just a dedicated, selfless friend. Sergeant Pepper over here seems to have spent more time becoming a Michael Jackson look-alike when he's not imitating Charlie Sheen, the man he accuses of raping him. So he's become something he hates, while the David Foster Wallace, Jonathan Franzen friendship symbolism there is potent in that photograph. Why aren't these movie decoders that go viral on YouTube talking about the Mandalorian effect? So in a nutshell, the Mandalorian effect is like the Mandela effect and my take on the McFly Code synthesized with some biblical symbolism. So in this understanding, Christ is a Joseph Campbell type hero, universal superhero at the center of everything. And like Ant-Man, he's in a quantum realm or an outer dark, or inner dark, kind of walking the Planck particle through infinity and influencing and changing history before the end of the world and the rebirth. Predictive programming suggests that he accidentally forgave some pedophiles and allowed them into his circle, or more importantly, hebephiles. And so now there's kind of some Blade Runners going around correcting some mistakes. Is that you, Corey? The much anticipated Mandalorian mask reveal had everyone thinking, hey, that guy kind of looks like Corey Feldman as his other alter ego getting his face smashed in the Rem clone factory there, Donald Marshall. The Mandalorian. Pedro Pascal is the actor's name. Pedro and Pedo are the same except for the R. UR2D2. So we got the guys in the underworld. Where did Corey go? Well, he didn't have the looks. He wasn't a heartthrob anymore. He hit puberty and he became a nerd. And so now he's part of the Revenge of the Nerds phenomenon. He can go on, but he has to go on under another name, in other words. And that's Goonies. Go on, in other words. Here we see Chunk doing the truffle shuffle, and he's symbolically hanging himself.
Cut it out now.
Humiliation and a hanging ritual reverses a black ball curse and you gain entrance. That's the Scottish Rite Freemason initiation right there in Goonies after the skull and bone symbolism, because it's all Jesuits. That all is under a Jesuit umbrella.
So you would think that from good old Chunk? You idiot! It's not broken. It's perfect. It's perfect. Oh my God! What? That's my mom's most favorite piece. What? Oh my God! My God!
You won beer if it wasn't.
Shut up, Mel.
You won beer if it wasn't. Shut up, Mel.
Shut up, Mel.
Hey, any of you guys ever hear of Detroit?
No.
Bart, can you translate all of that?
Why, certainly, Miss Walsh.
Here's an idea. Maybe Corey's a little old for his age. Hollywood didn't corrupt him. He was already like that, and that's why he got a job in Hollywood. He's perfect for this role.
La moto va nene en primer cajón. La coca y la rapidez van en el segundo. La heroína en el de abajo. Siempre hay que separar las drogas.
Here we see a handyman, or a retard, with a skull on his back. He's got a wet back too. So you got a low IQ or retarded wetback guy jerking off a kid symbolically. We got the crystal skull here and some some young kids, or a teenager and some kids doing some sexual stuff, as well as Chunk hanging himself with his fat bitch tits bob kind of physique. Marty McFly gets the call in the middle of the night, but he's being molested in his dreams and wearing a strap on with a tiny pecker. He's penetrating something in his dreams there. And he's also grabbing a hold of something, got his mouth open wide. Leaves it to your imagination. But that symbolism isn't just a one-time thing, it's everywhere.
Look, how's that? How's that? Oh, you idiot, you put it on upside down!
Dork, if God meant to do it that way, he'd all be pissing in your faces.
It's fine to me.
There was some news when Pedro said he wanted to take the mask off and be seen without the helmet. That's part of the code to keep the helmet on there, as part of the story goes with the Mandalorian. So maybe he wants to be seen. Charlie Sheen played a similar character in The Wraith, and he's coming back for vengeance. So maybe the Mandalorian is protecting the little baby Yoda, so the innocence is getting tainted and corrupted. The Mandalorian is traveling back in time to correct the past. Corey Feldman's name is a homophone for Feldman. That's man's downfall. Throughout Hollywood, there's codes that, basically you're getting tricked into consuming slickly hidden in plain sight hebephilia and pedophilia entertainment. Parabolaion, stones and testicles, same word in Greek.
Master, moving stones around is one thing. This is totally different. I can't. It's too big.
Size matters not. Look at me. Judge me by my size, do you?
Playing with your stones is one thing, but getting it up out the swamp is another. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's a crusty, dirty phallus that Yoda just pulled out of the swamp. So Daniel's in the lion's den, waxing on and waxing off. Hey kid, you want to learn some karate? I noticed your single mom is frazzled and you've got a temper. Anyway, in Lost Boys, Feldman's character embeds visually, as you see here, a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, and Feldman would later play the voice of Donatello in the original Ninja Turtles series. I see you too. So the Songs of Innocence Lost. Remember when Apple trolled the entire world into collectively, co-creatively conducting a magic ritual in which we deleted our Songs of Innocence? We were creeped out by the Christian iconography and then this old guy holding a kid, but that's because we were programmed to.
There's no mind.
Vital signs are highly irregular.
Let me go on. In other words, right? A B-lister in the sun, let me go on. In other words, change the I to the E. We got 6 years ago, that album came out. 6 years, sex years ago. Sex years ago. Anyway, I see you too, Corey. That also is the same face as Dustin from Stranger Things. So they recycle these faces in the God dream that you're stuck in here. This is purgatory, by the way. Welcome to it. And you're in paradise. It's kind of like upper class purgatory. So you died before you were ready, but you didn't go to the bad place, so it could be worse. Birds of a feather flock together. I see you too, Corey. 555. Yahweh. You got some work for me? I'm over here. I'm just looking for some paint work. You got some paint work for me? The flock together. Foot Locker clan. They got caught with a jelly donut. Now you're stuck in boot camp for life, right? Boot camp for life, nigga. So what does this have to do with Baby Yoda? Upon close inspection, just like Marty McFly, originally being played by Eric Stoltz, you'll see that Luke Skywalker was switched out after the first Star Wars. So we're told they're all Mark Hamill, but they're not all Mark. It looks like there was maybe a Matthew and a Mark swap. Kind of like the John the Baptist Jesus swap symbolically embedded in the scripture. We've got the foot etymology here, and if you think about the Foot Clan being 12 inches versus the metric system at 10, we've got the crystalline squared away versus the circular Arabic. Then we have the Latin pace and the pedo foot. We have the pedestal, the device for holding materials, sewing machines, and also the foot at the table that's furthest from where the host sits. So you sit with the host, but you're furthest from him. He can't touch you because he doesn't want to know what's inside your mind. He can't see it, but he'll enjoy your company. Interesting. So Jesus can read people's minds by touching them. He heals a man's pais, which is a kind of like a hazed teenage lover under the Greek military system, but we find out later that it's actually his son in the Gospel of John. So pais, it's servant in some Gospels, and in John, the healed pais is a son. So Jesus accidentally healed a pedophile. So now he set a standard, he's got to go back and make things right. That's the mythopoetic kind of Joseph Campbell Everman story, that innocence was corrupted and lost, and someone has to go through time. Superman does it to save Lois Lane. Charlie Sheen does it in The Wraith. Corey Feldman does it to get back at Charlie Sheen. The cycle continues. So this is the Arabic circular 12-inch Foot Clan circle repeats itself versus the metric squared away. We build the flat top mesa pyramid to the all-seeing one God, one pyramid, one column we can all stand on. But we can't stand for this. We're going to have to not stand for this. It doesn't matter where you come from, religious or otherwise. It's not okay to fuck 14-year-old kids when you're an adult in your 20s. But they've legalized it in California. So the law allows for a 10-year-old gap amongst adults going down to the 24-year-old who can have sex with a 14-year-old. And that's not okay. That's not okay. So the DSM-5 updated hebephilia, but for the previous 4 versions, they tried to write it off as a mental disorder. And there has been a growing pushback, not just in the psychiatric community, but elsewhere. Hebephilia is a crime, not a mental disorder. I would agree with that right here. And that's why the Mandalorian is coming back to take care of the California sin. Raisin in the sun, or racing in the sun, going faster than the speed of light to go back and correct something. And here we have Elmo's sign, the sign of the times. So we got the Mandalorian is a show on Disney, and the Mandalorian here is coming back because of what Elmo did.
The voice of popular Muppet Elmo has resigned following a second accusation of underage sex. Sesame Street producers announced on Tuesday that Kevin Clash would leave the show, saying in a statement, "Fortunately, the controversy surrounding Kevin's personal life has become a distraction that none of us wants, and he's concluded that he can no longer be effective in his job and has resigned from Sesame Street." They added, "This is a sad day for Sesame Street."
Brett, you look great. Everything looks great. 124. I still got time.
The Mandalorian's a little naive there. He sees a hipster filled with spirit reading the word, but that's not quite what was going on. Uh-oh. So the Foot Clan is out to get the pedos, or they're the pedos hired to get the pedos? In the cartoon, they look more like Nephilim with sacks on their heads, or scarecrows. Anyway, there's 47 Easter eggs in this one video. That means that once you watch that video, you got all the Easter eggs you need, and you don't need to know about the Mandalorian code. Although the Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 2 suggests that Baby Yoda's a rebellious cannibal, and he's being protected by the bad guys so that he can be handed off while he's still nice and cute. And then they sell him a lemon, and then he turns out to be a Rick Moranis. What the fuck? And now he's hanging out with Zorcom the Space God and the Ghostbusters, doing all types of stuff with Sigourney Weaver, the alien, and she's embedded there in Star Wars. There's a Ridley character in The Mandalorian, and you got the alien eggs hatching in Season 2, Episode 2 of The Mandalorians. Note the red herring Gaia.com going along with the red herring Easter egg decoding.
I know the answers. Technology is being used that we would never believe was possible.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and The Mandalorian is back on Disney+. Returning to Tatooine to take down some Krayt dragons, and true spoiler warning, resurrect one.
So spoilers are because of the rotten Easter eggs. And Easter eggs are what Stanley Kubrick embedded into his movies, right? That's his term. So I break down Easter eggs like nobody on earth. But you wouldn't know that because the new rock stars are the rotten Revenge of the Nerds kids, right? When you're a Corey Haim and puberty hits and you just don't have what it takes, you got to hit the sidelines and then you become a hater. So you go rotten to the core and then you come back as a Rick Moranis. Revenge of the Nerds. Talk to kids about the Force.
The Force? The Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together.
The Consumer Electronics Show is a twice-a-year extravaganza. More than 140,000 products are now on display. Hundreds of companies are taking part, and more than a third of the industry's annual business is done right there.
But this time it's for the ducks. Uh-oh.
Whenever you're at war, you always hit the guy in the mouth as hard as you can. If you can't hit him hard, you might as well not even fight. That's the attitude in real war, and it's the attitude in business. You've got to be prepared to take on the competition and win.
Do you think that technology exists that bees will shrink even more?
I don't know how much smaller they can get. You know what the problem with them getting smaller is holding them steady. Because if it's lightweight, it tends to move.
Both Max Planck and Werner Heisenberg won Nobel Prizes for their work with particle physics that proves in experiments that can now be conducted in your average high school laboratory, possibly a well-funded middle-class high school. Public high schools can do the double slit experiment and learn how the way in which we pay attention to the world affects the world. Now that's on a particle level. How does that affect the bigger people? Well, the small people affect the big people. This is the quantum revelation. And that's why when it comes down to the smallest people, you need to hire some really good help down there in the quantum realm, which is everywhere. So you're kind of inside and outside when you get down to it. And the world is more like it's not a world of chaos like the Ant-Man movie. It's more like a micro Lego land of micro machines that are quantifiable on a metric level so that you can kind of scale it out and see how it's going to work on a larger level with a high degree of fidelity because things are crystalline and fractalized. So as above, so below, and so below as above, on earth as it is in heaven. So we have some esoteric teachings in Hermeticism that map onto the Lord's Prayer. We have some science that maps onto things from Ezekiel and the book of Genesis, the books of Revelation. So we have the carbon-based life forms embedded in the number 666, that's stable carbon with 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons. We have the electric lady here revealed in the mandala of the 7 veil overlays of the Dreams in the Antique Shop by Norman Rockwell, and that syncs up with the overlays methodology I've showed you that connects the works of the high and low Renaissance, particularly Albrecht Dürer and Leonardo da Vinci. I almost said DiCaprio. King of the world. There can be only one king of the world. Did he leave? Who was Jesus and where did he go? You might want to ask Skull and Bones. My initial impression with the Skull and Bones is to go to the initials, S-A-B. And I think of Switched at Birth. Add a different letter and you're driving in your Saab. That's a song by Tori Amos. A witch. You want my scientific opinion? The Witches is back.
For my ally is the Force, and a powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us, and binds us. Luminous beings shall we, not this crude matter. You must feel the Force around you. You, between you, me. Everywhere. Yes. Even.
When I take a look at some of these mythologies like Star Wars and Back to the Future, and I think of stories from the New Testament and the Apocryphals, Jesus stories that didn't make the New Testament, and I consider those as mythology as well, then I see through a kind of comparative mythology and literary deconstructive lens something about hunting hebephiles and correcting something, as in we got off to a bad start. Think of the New Testament beginning with the book of Matthew, although Mark was written first, and Matthew is based on Mark. So we got off to a bad start, give credit where credit is due. Now we have this mythology in the modern pop culture understanding of the Trump Red Hats supporting the QAnon conspiracy, which involves an insider going to expose the deep state. And this sounds like Anonymous and Edward Snowden and some other little femi guy with a mustache is going to save the world. So the mythology came about shortly after my Mandalay Bay and Overlays revelations. And I've pointed out how the QAnon conspiracy seems to be fed by something that maps onto the patterns of unified code theory. QAnon showed up just months after my Mandalay Bay prediction, although I've never been mentioned by the Wall Street Journal or Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump supporters. Many of the patterns of unified code theory have been taken to Toontown and then articulated by people that show up and claim at rallies and whatnot and in social media, which is mostly bots, to be supporters of someone that's like a quasi-prophet. Trust the plan. That reminds me of the Mandalorian.
We'll do well. Reserve some for the foundlings.
As it should always be. The foundlings are the future. This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
Trust the plan. So the supporters here, the Patriots supporting Trump and horned hats and what is that, a raccoon? Davy Crockett Thor. Patriot Davy Crockett Thor. Crockett Man. Crockett Man! Gonna sell me a crock of shit. This is more 4chan methane, CH4, 4chan, channel 4. So the guys over at MIT down in the basement working with Steven Pinker and all these fuckfaces down in the 80s and 90s invented 4chan and the Anonymous and this whole thing. This is these are war games. Now, Trump has been announced to have lost the election. We'll see some recounts. Again, I told you what was going to happen. We were going to have a close election. There'll be some recounts. The Recount Dracula video went up months ago.
Think about it. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
Often embed in awareness of future events before they happen. I'm suggesting that I'm one of the first people that can read it before it happens and tell you and make predictions. We're looking at mandatory quarantines, mandatory vaccines, a Marxist takeover of America after Joe Biden wins a close election and then dies in office, and we have President Harris, Kamala Harris-ment. Meant it. She Harris-meant it, the Kabbalah harassment. And then JB was going to be the winner. Now, JB versus the Orange Man. I've got one question for you. Who do you think this big fucking pizza face really is? The real Q, QAnon. Also, trust the plan. That's in all caps. We got some all caps. Makes me think of Cappy. Captain America versus Tony Stark. Tony Stark is the guy Fox. Fox this guy, right? That's Edward Snowden also. Same look. Little femmy, you know, like a lesbian's ideal beard. A soy boy with a little beard and some skinny jeans and a laptop. It's going to go save the world. The Trump supporters are having a cow right now. They're going to have their faith tested because they've been told, well, for quite a while now. We were supposed to have secret indictments unsealed and people, you know, sent to jail. That's more biblical symbolism that maps onto the seals being broken in the book of Revelations. And David Koresh got one of those seals opened, it looks like, and they sent SEAL Team 6 to finish the deal to keep the other 6 closed up. Do you see how that symbolism works? The language in the mythology is all self-referencing. Now, in the movie Contagion, we have Black Panthers here disguised as white people that are trying to help, that are reversing the flowers for Algernon effect. Again, can you smell what they're cooking in the crock pot? Baby Yoda is a reptilian shapeshifter with supernatural powers he gains from cannibalism, and the Mandalorians are helping this snake get onto our plane of existence. This is how they got into the Ark, right there. So the Mandalorian was distracted by Sigourney Weaver, weaving him a story, and behind his back, the shape-shifting reptilians use their magnetism to draw the female eggs, which also look like mammary glands, to them. So that's a story about the pheromones and the hormones back. So again, we got off to a bad start. This is the biochemistry that sets up women to let snakes on our plane. So as the story goes, embedded in the predictive programming, which can be translated with unified code theory, is that the pheromones and hormones that cause teenagers and young adults to behave in crazy ways at school and in college and out in bars on the weekends starts a cycle that corrupts the rest of their lives and the lives of their children that they make while engaging in casual sex usually. So these types of patterns replicate and have a ripple effect, and it needs to be stopped. Unfortunately, when Christ was forgiving people and doing miracles, in the scriptures we hear he heals a pais. He thought someone was having a consensual relationship with someone getting hazed into the military. So my pais is unwell, and Christ heals this person without laying hands on them. In the Gospel of John, the fourth gospel, after Christ is described as healing a pais in Matthew and Mark and Luke, we hear that the centurion asking Christ for the healing, remote healing, is a father to a son, and the son is ill. So if we take all of these stories and compress them into a kind of comparative mythology sandwich, the pattern we're left with is that Christ has a very little time to do a lot of work. He's working miracles, so he hires some people, he gives them some of his powers, he's stretched a little thin, and he accidentally forgives pedophilia and incest. And so this opens up a gate for the Kabbalists who like to pretend they don't break God's rules by twisting the shit out of them with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu mental stuff. Again, I'm JJB. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is BJJ. We're going to look in the mirror test and see how much of God is inside of me that I'm wrestling with and how much of it is me. Which wolf am I feeding? Which wolf am I fighting? And this is the mirror test we're all going through. Unfortunately, the Trump supporters and the QAnon supporters that were laughing at the left were also unknowingly hating on themselves as well. So I'm sick and tired of hearing about all that fucking bullshit. I think it's way, way too much Q's and not enough A's. So it's time to kick some A's. I'll kick it off myself. Come back for part 2, and we'll kick some A's.
Just food's in the house, but you already know that.
Yeah, I know that.
Listen, that reminds me, I'm having a big party for all my clients. Shouldn't leave your TV on so loud when you go out. The creep down the hall phone the manager.
That's strange. I didn't realize I left it on.
Oh yeah, you know what I did? I climbed on the ledge and tried to disconnect the cable, but I couldn't get in too, so everyone would think that both our TVs had something wrong with them.
Okay, who brought the dog?
And you said...
Feed me, Carbon! Feed me now!
I can't.
I'm starving!
Look, maybe I can squeeze a little more out of this one.
More!
There isn't any more. What do you want me to do, slit my wrists?
Concentrate.
Think about it. We hold these truths to be self-evident. All men and women created by you know the thing.
With Jews worldwide, there is a, I mean, you know, I used to say early on when I was a kid, I'd say, when I was a young senator, I'd say, if I were a Jew, I'd be a Zionist. I am a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist.
There is no war.
Of course there's a war. I'm watching it on television.
And who might you be when it's all said and done?
My name is Conrad Breen.
Who do you work for?
Nobody whose name you want me to say, Mr. Young, I promise you.